Guys, a real hard tire, pretty nice track, but it leads to no grip.
Andy, how bad's the damage?
Well, the body damage is obvious. They got to come in here and beat that out, try to get that fender clear. But I heard him say that his toe end was off. He probably looked at his steering wheel and the spokes were off, so he knows that something's been in the steering.
You see him shaking his head right now with disgust, like, I can't believe that happened. And Greg's probably beating himself up. Greg Zippadelli is crew chief, because that's the only eyes Tony's got on the track when he's pitting.
He came in here fourth in the chase. He dropped a spot right now to fifth in the chase. Remember, he had a tire rubbing at Kansas City that didn't come in quick enough and get it off the fender, and it cost him dearly. Back in a moment.
I wonder why he didn't stop.
We need to come back.
Right side and fix the fender. Don't worry about the left side. Get that fender out. Make sure it's not going to rub.
Hayes vehicle pulling away, getting ready to restart the Bank of America 500 after caution on lap 175 due to the spin for Elliott Sadler. 0-7, Clint Boyer comes down. Remember, he took fuel only on that pit stop. As you look from the onboard of Kevin Harvick and watch the 5-car of Kyle Busch try to make a move. Remember, Harvick, who just joined our coverage, had unscheduled stops early on for what was a problem with a left side tire. He lost 3 laps by virtue of 2 pit stops to change rights first and then four tires the second time in.
The only way this 29 car is going to get back on the lead lap, he's going to race by these leaders. He's not going to get any lucky dogs. He's 3 laps down, so he's got to get some of these back the old-fashioned way, and that's past that leader.
You know, going back to the 20 car a little bit with Greg Zippadelli sitting up on top of the pit box, watching his driver sitting still in the pits. And that's a really team effort. The only thing Tony heard was probably go, go, go. And Greg was probably thinking, gosh, I wish he'd stop. I wish he'd just stop and not go. And so Greg's probably beating himself up right now thinking, I should have told my driver not to go, because the 15 was coming in. And then as he took off, here comes a 9 car, stop again. And Tony just can't see that. He didn't see the right side of the 15. And he didn't see the 9 car coming. So, but knowing this team, they'll say, look, let's brush it off. It's a team effort. Brad?
Yeah, Rusty, and maybe that's an incident, too, in qualifying. You know, Tony qualified 29th, being way back there in the pit box. Maybe it's an opportunity that came about because of poor qualifying. What do you think?
Well, I think he got himself up to the front there pretty good, Brad, up the top 10. And, you know, honestly, I just think that's probably just a mistake. I mean, when you make pit stops this fast, Andy, and you've stopped the car, and you're that much quicker, and everybody's coming in, and you're trying to get out, disaster.
Yeah, but I think if he had qualified, say, up on the pole or in the front row, he'd have got a spot on pit road where he had an opening, and that would have helped him avoid something like this. So
absolutely.
Qualifying does come into play in a situation like this.
Absolutely.
Jimmy Johnson now going by Kyle Busch to take the second spot away. And not only, by the way, did that pit stop or pit incident cost the 20 car of Tony Stewart, it also cost the 43 car, Bobby Labonte, who was boxed in and couldn't get out. And Labonte now way back in 25th after running in the top 10 for most of the evening.
He was just a victim in that whole thing because he saw all the contact from the cars. He didn't get any contact, but he just had to sit there and spectate and wait till this all sorted out.
184 laps in the books. We are past the halfway point here. 334 laps make up 500 miles at Lowe's Motor Speedway. The 0-7. Clint Boyer is the leader. Remember, Clint only took fuel only. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson is about to be the leader as he goes to the high side.
We see him experiment with that top groove a little bit here now, taking the lead on the high side. We haven't seen this in a while out of this 48.
I believe if I was Jimmy Johnson, I'd be trying the top just a little bit. If he doesn't like this, it doesn't have to run up there.
I haven't seen a square inch of this racetrack that 48 car doesn't like.
Well, one thing you got to remember, the fastest way around a racetrack is on the bottom. That's the reason they qualify on the bottom of the track, because it's just a farther distance on the top. But when the tires wear out, the top tends to be better.
Getting ready to mix it up back here for third position, the 5 of Kyle Busch, the 2 of Kurt Busch, and the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Remember, the 29 car is a lap car, and Kurt Busch, but he's running awfully well, about the same speed as these cars that are running back in 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Looks like Kevin Harvick's going to yield to these lead lap cars. He gave it a shot on the restart. Man, Busch is way up on that racetrack. Kyle Busch.
Jay's ticker toward the top of your screen. Now, the very top ticker, obviously, his running position here at the racetrack. Beneath that in the chase.
How the hell do you go that fast? Hopefully.
Kyle Busch. Remember, he had a plan about moving that groove up once he took care of that right front tire.
It's like you said, to heck with that right front tire. He's going to go ahead and run up there now. Dave?
And last night before the Busch race, Kyle Busch was asked who he might put money on if he had to in the Busch race, and he said Jeff Burton, who started last. Guess who won? Jeff Burton. So today they asked, Kyle, would you bet on anybody today? And he wouldn't predict anyone, but he said, I've got a really good race car, and he's proven that all night long. On that last stop, just 2 tires on his car, and running well, guys.
He is running well. He's been consistent all night long. He's talked about how moving to the top of the racetrack has hurt his right front tire. I don't think he's got an option right now. I think it's probably the only area he can run fast like he needs to run, and that's on the top.
Well, trouble on the racetrack to 21. Bill Elliott, former Cup champion, has had hard contact with the outside wall.
Count 5.
That turn 4 has been another one.
Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, 1988 Cup Series champion. Running a part-time schedule in the 21 car for the Wood Brothers, and pretty hard contact. Take a look.
Oh, looks like he got a little help right here. Casey Mears got a little bit loose.
And Casey Mears got some damage in his car also. Got the right front knock, right side knocked in on the 25 car, Casey Mears, and Bill Elliott. Just a lot of damage. This is probably going to end his night, this crash.
Remember, this team was trying to get the top 35 in owners' points. A couple laps ago, watch Casey Mears' car have some contact there. Could he have had a tire going down after that little bump?
Oh, he had already been in the wall, so he had some problems brewing. Looks like Bill Elliott was just a victim. Yeah, you see sparks flying out from the 25. Looks like he may have had a tire going down. And
yeah, there was absolutely nothing intentional right there. When sparks are flying out from under your car and you're going at a competitor on the top side, you're out of control. You can't steer the car. So Casey Mears obviously was in trouble before he got to Bill Elliott.
Had the Cinderella story back in May, picking up his very first ever NASCAR Nextel Cup win here. From 16th starting spot, led the final 6 laps. Let's talk about who among these leaders will come on the pit road here, guys. They're up perched on the pit wall. Andy, what will you do?
that's a hard one right here. This is why these guys make the big bucks. Seems like they go about 10 or 12, 14 laps, have a caution, and these guys have to come down and kind of reset. But what they're going to do is, you don't know who's going to get 2, who's going to get fuel, who's going to get 4.
Let's go down to Alan Bestwick.
Going to be a fuel-only stop for Kurt Busch and his crew chief Pat Bryson, warning him about incoming traffic to keep him from getting torn up on pit road. Jamie?
Jimmie Johnson said he was really comfortable that last stint. He said he'll end up snug, but they're coming in for fuel only. He's down and away. Dave?
Time for fresh rubber on the 07. It'll be 4 this time. They went 0, 2, and 0, so they will lose track position now to get fresh rubber on the 07 car for Clint Boyer. Look at all the cars going by.
Race off of pit road, but more importantly, another chaser getting damage on the right front fender. You see Jeff Gordon gains a spot. Newman up 4. Hamlin up 5. Riggs plus 7 now. But watch the 2 car, the right front fender of Kurt Busch as he's trying to leave.
That's the problem with that first pit stall. You get in there and get your work done, and you're coming out while these other guys are still coming in.
Pat Trosson was trying to guide him out as they're reacting. Oh my gosh, we got hit. Damage on the right front of the 2 car. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
Back in New York, I'm Matt Weiner with a check of your primetime pulse. On ESPN, Auburn still clinging to a 3-0 lead at Arkansas. That game now in the 3rd quarter. Colorado and Kansas State, the Big 12. Wildcats lead at 10-0. James Johnson with the only touchdown of the game. Jimmie Johnson leading at Charlotte.
And Jimmie Johnson has led much of the night. This could be the Jimmie Johnson Invitational every time you come to Lowe's. And our aerial coverage is brought to you by the Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. The last 9 races here at Lowe's have been won by Jimmie Johnson. You know, when the night began, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Gordon led the battle for the chase by 9 points ahead of his teammate Jimmie Johnson. They have flipped positions at the moment. And this, of course, Jimmy's private playground. But Clint Boyer still third. Who would have thought almost halfway through the chase, Dr. Jerry Punch, that Clint Boyer would be a serious contender as we go green.
Randy could be the Cinderella story here. We see a lot of Cinderella stories in sports. We've seen him in college football this year. 5-time winner, Jimmy Johnson, leading him down. 4-time Charlotte winner. Jeff Gordon, his teammate in second spot. Ryan Newman, the pole sitter, back in the 12 car. Denny Hamlin is there in the 11. McMurray back in 5th spot. Here's Kevin Harvick's car. Again, if he just joined our coverage, he had 2 unscheduled pit stops in the first 30 laps. Cost him 3 laps because of a tire going down. Harvick being shown in 35th position, 3 laps behind. Updates you on the 2 car. Remember the incident on pit road with Kurt Busch trying to leave, and there was contact between him and the car right in front of him right now, the 01 of Mark Martin.
Well, take a look at the right front fender of the 2 car. They've worked on it, but the car's starting to spark right now, Andy. Looks like maybe the nose is bent down. Cause that. Hold on, Hot Rod. He's overdriving the thing a little bit. He's probably frustrated.
Yeah, he's back in the 24th spot here, and I know he's frustrated because of this contact. He's got to keep that car straight. He's going to have more damage to fix here if he keeps driving like he is there.
He's had a good car all night long, and I think he can fix this car. He just got to stay patient right now.
Boy, he had his hands full here a moment ago. Watch him turning the wheel inside.
Look at that back steer. That was way out of shape right there. Right rear quarter panel, and boy, he caught that. And you know what? Nobody else has been able to do that all night long. This guy's a pretty good driver.
That's a quick reaction. He overcorrected it, and he just made that quick snap back to the left. Keep that front end out of the wall.
Roger Penske's probably thinking, I cannot believe this has happened. We've had a great car all night long. How could we have wrecked on pit road? Alan?
The one who can't believe how they could have wrecked on pit road is Kurt Busch, Rusty. Kurt talking at the start of the night about needing to have a clean race all the way through. They've had a car they've kept up front all night, tuning on it to try and get it in position to win. Then they get torn up on pit road. Now he's back in traffic with a damaged race car. If you could spell frustration in capital letters and put about 100 exclamation points behind it, I think you don't begin to sum up the frustration Kurt Busch is expressing right now.
Alan, I totally agree with you, but they've got to get a hold of him on the radio and say, calm down. This kid's a real high-strung driver, gets mad a lot, but he's a really good driver. They got to calm him down right now.
Roger Penske's accustomed to having high-strung drivers in that 2 car, and how do you get somebody calm down if you're a crew chief or Roger Penske as a spotter?
Well, dude, if you think I was high-strung, this 2 car is really high-strung right now, and Roger's absolutely fantastic at slowing him down. So I think Roger can pull it off.
He's having to deal with a ton of race traffic right here. He's losing almost a second a lap to the leaders. That's one point of frustration for Kurt Busch, and he's working around this 01. This is the car that he hit to hurt that fender in the pits.
And he doesn't look like a car's off pace. It's running fast. He just needs to work himself back through the field, nice and easy.
Got to be patient right here.
Got to be careful when they get pinned behind some slower cars. Riding along with Michael Waltrip. Lots of traffic. There's the 01.
You see Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to get through this. He's probably frustrated a little bit, but that 2 car's been in front of him all night long, and they just got to show patience right now. Let this thing thin out a little bit before the 2 car Kurt Busch and 8 car Dale Jr. can get through these fellas.
This 8 car has not done a very good job of keeping up with the racetrack. He was up front running in the top 5, 6, 8, 10 cars, and now here he is back, outside the top 20. Dave?
And the main thing that's been happening with that, Andy, is that the car has been rolling over and hitting coil binding on that right front too hard. In fact, Junior described it recently as sounding like Morse code. He could hear it tat, 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 tat as it went through the corners. So it's been chattering as he goes through those corners, difficult to turn.
The problem with that kind of a deal going on is it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. As these cars run, they seem to go down, they keep going down and hitting that right front spring in that coil bind, and it'll just keep getting worse and worse. That's a setup. This coil bind setup is something a lot of these guys are using to keep the front end of the car down low where it makes the most downforce. NASCAR checks the height of these cars in inspection, and they specify how high the car has to be. The teams want to run this car a whole lot lower than that, so they put this spring, real soft spring in there, and the forces on the racetrack, the aero forces in the bank, and push this car all the way down into what we call coil bind. You see that spring just completely collapse. And you got that. It's a tricky setup to get right, but when you got it right, it keeps that front end right down on the racetrack. As you see here, and the car runs it like this all the way around, making tons of downforce.
Well, Andy, the result of that, if you can figure out how to get this car low in the track like these guys are doing with coil bind, it really makes that car fly through the corners. But man, it is moody. It doesn't like, sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't. And coil binding is one of the toughest things these fellas work on and have to deal with.
It's all a timing thing. It's just when does that car go down and touch that, when does that coil touch? What point?